Once upon a time, there was a young woman, and her grandmother had made her a beautiful Red Riding Hood. It was so lovely, and she loved it so much, that in fact her nickname became Red Riding Hood. One day she was off to visit her grandmother with a basket full of fruits and jams and lovely sorts of baked goods, and she was heading off to go visit her grandmother through the woods. And on the way, unfortunately, she ran into a wolf. And the wolf said to her, "Why, hello, little girl. Where are you off to?" And Red Riding Hood said, because she was sort of foolish and a little naive, "I'm off to go visit my grandmother." And the wolf said, "Oh, well, maybe you should pick her some flowers as well to go with these fruits and jams and baked goods." And Red Riding Hood said, "Ah, that's an excellent idea, Mr. Wolf. I'm going to do that." And so Red Riding Hood started gathering various flowers and so forth. And the wolf took advantage of this delay to run to the cottage where Red Riding Hood's grandmother lived. And he broke in and he ate Red Riding Hood's grandmother. And he jumped into bed. Very sneaky. So Red Riding Hood, after having gathered up a bunch of flowers, continues along the way through the woods and arrives at her grandmother's cottage and knocks. And the wolf puts on a fake grandmothery sort of voice and says, "Come in, my darling, come in." And Red Riding Hood, goes in and, puts down the basket and sort of something seems slightly off. And so she says, "Grandmother, are you okay? Your voice sounds a little off." And the wolf says, "Oh, I've got a cold." And Red Riding Hood says, Your ears, what large ears you have, grandmother." And the wolf says, "Oh, well, they're the better to hear you with, your lovely voice." And Red Riding Hood says, "Oh, well, what large eyes you have, grandmother." And the wolf says, "Oh, well, the better to see you with, my dear." And Red Riding Hood says, "Oh, what large and slightly furry paws you have, grandmother." And the wolf says, "Oh, well, the better to caress you with, my dear." And Red Riding Hood goes, "Oh, well, what large and very pointy teeth you have, grandmother." And the wolf says, "The better to eat you with, my dear," and quickly pounces on the girl. Red Riding Hood pounces on her and gobbles her up whole. Well, fortunately for Red Riding Hood and her grandmother, there was a hunter passing by who heard the commotion through a conveniently open window. And the hunter quickly ran into the cottage and saw the wolf and cut the wolf open. And Red Riding Hood and her grandmother, who had also been swallowed up whole, managed to leap out. And they gathered up stones and rocks and filled the wolf's belly full with stones and rocks, so that the wolf was trapped, prisoner, and couldn't move. And that's the rather gory and unpleasant end to Red Riding Hood. But the hunter lived happily ever after and got a very nice pelt from the wolf. And the grandmother lived happily ever after and had her fruits and jams and baked goods. And Red Riding Hood learned that maybe she shouldn't stop to talk to strange wolves in the wood.